1 year ago today, CM Punk debuted in AEW, marking his return to professional wrestling after a 7-year absence. Yes people, it's been that long, but it still feels like yesterday. And since his AEW debut, Punk has taken part in some of AEW's greatest moments, and has been an important component of AEW television, becoming one of the company's top draws. So to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of CM Punk's AEW debut, we thought of reliving those moments that really stood out. Welcome to Sports Entertainment, and these are the 5 best CM Punk moments since his AEW debut. But before we begin, be sure to click that subscribe button so you can stay updated with all our great content. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the thumbs up icon down below.
We told you that we could feel all hell was gonna break loose here tonight.
Don't tell me! Mamma mia! Mamma mia! Are you kidding me?
Moment number 5. Return match against Darby Allin, All Out 2021. Where else would the Second City Saint have his first wrestling match in 7 years than in his own hometown? And who better to challenge him than one of the 4 pillars of AEW? Immediately upon his AEW debut, CM Punk issued a challenge to the young daredevil Darby Allin for a match at All Out in Chicago. This was a big deal for both men. For Darby, he was going to be CM Punk's first wrestling opponent in 7 years. As for Punk, this was an opportunity to test himself if he still got it. Fans were in anticipation for the match, as many wanted to see how Punk would fare in his first match back against Darby. While it wasn't a 5-star classic, the match was enough to show that Punk can still hang with younger talent. Observers have even pointed out similarities between this match and the 1994 match between Bret Hart and the 1-2-3 Kid on Raw. Both were star-making matches between a veteran and a rising talent. Additionally, the All Out match referenced a number of spots from the 1994 match. Not surprising considering Punk's admiration for the Hitman. And let's be honest, who doesn't love Bret Hart? For being Punk's first match in years, having Darby as his opponent, and both having a great showing in Chicago,
You just made the list!
quick shout out to the CM Trunks that debuted in this match. We're not yet sure how to feel about that one. Moment number 4. Ongoing feud with Jon Moxley. So this is the most recent one here. So recent in fact that the program has only had 2 segments so far. The first one was a simple wordless face-off that was a preview of things to come. But for this list, we're going with the segment the 2 just had this week on Dynamite. Now before we get there, let's do a quick recap. CM Punk was sidelined for a couple of months following a foot injury while still being AEW World Champion. While he's out, Jon Moxley became the interim World Champion and is scheduled to face Punk for the undisputed title whenever Punk's all healed up. Well, as we all saw here, Punk is pretty healed up. On Dynamite, Punk came out with his AEW World title to start the show. And after shooting on Hangman Adam Page, that's a story you can learn more about in the previous video, Punk came swinging at Moxley on the mic. Punk labeled Mox as always being the 3rd best guy in any team he's in, referencing not only the Blackpool Combat Club, but also the Shield in WWE. Mox returned the favor with insults of his own, saying that Punk lost his fighting spirit a long time ago, and that Punk only went to AEW when he got broke. Shots fired, mics dropped, and not long after, it was on. It was an absolute fire segment between 2 of AEW's biggest stars, and set the stage perfectly for their showdown for the undisputed AEW World title. It may be the most recent one, but it's already looking to be one of the year's best AEW feuds. And for that,
You just made the list!
moment number 3, Rivalry with MJF. Alright, we know the video is about certain moments from CM Punk's run since his AEW debut, but we're willing to bend the rules here. Hey, it's our list and if you don't like it, you can make your own. And besides, who hasn't been a fan of this rivalry? Honestly, the feud between CM Punk and MJF produced moment after moment from beginning to end. And honestly, it's hard to choose one because every single moment was great. Not an episode was wasted, every part built up the story perfectly, adding layers and twists to the story that few of us saw coming. The very first face-off where Punk turned his back on MJF? So simple but so sweet. The almost 20-minute exchanges of pipe bombs between the two? Mind-blowing. Their first match where MJF gave Punk his first pinfall loss in AEW? Hell of a match. MJF giving his villain background story about Punk letting him down as a young kid? Fantastic. MJF guilt-tripping Punk before unleashing a bloody assault on him? That's god-tier heel work right there. The dog collar match at Revolution? Just an amazing match. And on top of that, the storyline was also building towards Wardlow's face turn. Perhaps the greatest big man face turn since Batista in 2005. The rivalry brought out the absolute best in both Punk and MJF in terms of storytelling. Seriously guys, look back at this rivalry and tell us one thing they did wrong. You can't! Which is why...
You just made the list!
Moment number 2. CM Punk wins the AEW World Championship. Punk winning his first World Championship in over 10 years is both a career highlight and an emotional moment for the wrestling legend. Following his feud with MJF, CM Punk set his sights on the AEW World Championship, which at the time was being held by Hangman Adam Page. The match was set as the main event of Double or Nothing 2022. It was both Punk's biggest match since his AEW debut and Hangman's biggest title defense since winning the title from Kenny Omega the previous year. Fans were divided on their bets between a successful title defense from the Hangman or a championship win for Punk, while those who bet on the latter scenario won because that night in Vegas, CM Punk defeated Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship. It was Punk's first major title win since his record-breaking reign as the WWE Champion from 2011 to 2013, and the culmination of his professional wrestling comeback. Punk being overcome with emotion as he is handed the title ranks among the best images in AEW. Unfortunately, Punk injured his foot not long after winning the title, and his championship reign was sidelined along with him for a couple of months. But don't let that take away from how great this moment was. A wrestling legend returning after years of being away to win the industry's top prize is an AEW fairy tale ending done right. That's why...
You just made the list!
And moment number 1. CM Punk makes his AEW debut. Let's be honest, nothing was going to top this moment. Not now, and probably not ever. It's the greatest debut in AEW history, the greatest debut in any pro wrestling promotion, and is arguably the greatest return in the history of professional wrestling. When CM Punk left WWE and wrestling altogether in 2014, he was one of the hottest stars in the entire industry. Punk made it clear that he has no intention of returning to wrestling ever again. Regardless, his status as a legend and one of the most beloved pro wrestlers ever stayed intact. Every now and then, you would hear crowds erupt into random CM Punk chants. A lot of fans were hoping he would eventually change his mind. And changed his mind he did. On August 20, 2021, AEW held a special edition of Rampage at Chicago's United Center called The First Dance. Around that time, rumors have been floating around that Punk was debuting in AEW. The show began with CM Punk chants right from the get-go, and when Cult of Personality hit, man, the place absolutely erupted. Punk came out and took his time making his way to the ring, as the crowd kept chanting his name louder. The entrance alone was a glorious sight to behold. The crowd reaction from Chicago alone was a highlight. I mean, just look at this guy. When Punk made it to the ring, he addressed his 7-year absence, his time in Ring of Honor, and assured the crowd that he's in AEW full-time. He also expressed a desire to compete with the best and with up-and-coming talent. And that's when Punk challenged Darby Allin to a match at All Out. Before exiting, Punk thanked the crowd and let them know that each of them gets a free ice cream bar on him. Everything about this return immediately raised it to legendary status. The crowd anticipation, the eruption once Cult of Personality hit, the entrance, the promo, everything. CM Punk's AEW debut was one for the ages and has been hailed by both fans and critics as one of the greatest moments in professional wrestling history. That is why...
You just made the list!
And there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed our ranking. Do you agree with us? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, leave us with a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more great content. Until next time.
Off the ropes, always untamed. On guard when I step in the ring. WWE, all eyes on me. King of the ring, who you came to see? It's a big show, so let your friends know. Only the strong survive. Face to face, look your opponent up in the eyes. Crowd cheering, fan favorite, I'm the main event. Had them all waiting, my finish move, they anticipate.